Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's event. With me today, I have the CEO of NeoDynamics, Anna Eriksrud, and the CFO, Aaron Wong. Today's topic is the recently announced Q2 report and also the upcoming rights issue. Both reports you find on the company's homepage, the Q2 report and the prospectus for the rights issue. To the audience, you're as always more than welcome to post your questions during the presentation, and you do that just below the video window here, and I will forward them to management. I can further add that NeoDynamics will participate on our life science seminar end of this month, the 31st of August. We will send out more information about that soon. With that said, I hope all will enjoy this presentation, and I will hand over the word to Anna Eriksrud. Welcome, Anna, and welcome, Aaron.
Thank you, Klaus. I think we should just recap what company we have, NeoDynamics, and what we deliver or offer, as I'm sure you as interested in our company have many companies that you cover. So NeoDynamics is a Swedish medtech company. We are public and present at First North Growth market at Nasdaq. We are offering the possibility to support a better diagnosis of cancer. And we are focusing on breast cancer as the first indication with our technology that we call pulse technology. With the pulse technology, you are able to have a much preciser biopsy when you insert the needle. It is thanks to these pulses that you go in step by step, and at the ultrasound imaging screen, you see the needle perfectly, and you also see the small lesions that you today want to take sample from. In earlier days, with present needles, you were used to have lesions that had a size of both 1 and 2 centimeters, and in that way, a harpoon-like, as we call it, or a spring-loaded needle was not a problem. But today, with good imaging technique, you see very small lesions. Our product is approved in Europe, of course, as a CE approval, but we quite recently received an FDA approval as well. And that's where the company is very interesting now, because we are then on the edge of a good commercialization. So having said that, we have now the first half year, and I leave over to CFO Aaron Wong to present that, and then we can take questions about what we can expect out of the year 2023. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Anna. So what I would like to do is run through the Q2 interim report. And first, I would like to just showcase some of the events that have happened during the quarter and some of the things that have happened after the quarter. So in order to prepare for the rights issue, we held an extraordinary general meeting earlier in April. Thereafter, we had the regular annual general meeting that was held on the 23rd of May. And the full agenda and the proposals and the resolutions to the annual general meeting can be found on the website. They're quite to go through them all, so I would suggest and encourage everybody to go onto the website and the regulatory press releases to take a look. We announced that the availability of the Neonavia, predominantly the FlexiPulse needle, is available in the US. And it was commercially introduced at the American Society of Breast Surgeons at the end of April. We also had the final data set from the Pulse presented at the SBI Breast Imaging Symposium in the US, which, amongst other things, rate of 93%, biopsies, difficult biopsies such as in the lymph node. And we also resolved to have another extra general meeting. And this was actually to carry out the rights issue with the structure. The results of the Pulse study were also presented at the 42nd Annual Congress in Germany. And this demonstrated that the needle and the stabilization of the needle whilst being in use was great. And finally, and most recently, we had the extraordinary general meeting that was week. We're pleased to see that all shareholders unanimously voted for the proposals that were put forwards, and that essentially allows us now to go into the rights issue with an open door to amend our Articles of Association to issue additional shares and warrants as part of the raise. So as we move into the more detailed part of the financial information in the Q2 report, revenues were very much similar and in line with the same period last year. The re-entry which we outlined in one report remains ongoing, and centres in the UK and the DAC region have received their updated versions. We've received feedback, and we're working hard to incorporate some of the feedback that we've received. And we expect sales in the second half of the year. And this is both for our European and also our US commercial efforts. Our other external costs increased, and this mainly reflected the higher costs for the establishment of NeoDynamics Inc. Although NeoDynamics Inc. was established at the early part of last year, we didn't have everybody on board, as you can probably imagine. I've talked a little bit about it in the past, that we would sort of commercialize only as fast and increase the costs only as fast as we could commercialize, if I can clarify. Which means that we didn't have a full set of salespeople on board at that time. So a lot of those costs are reflected in the personnel costs, which increased versus last year. And just a note on the other external costs, earlier this year, we obviously brought on board two big important partners, and that was Unifar and Diligent Health, who are supporting us with our customer support, and they are obviously part of the consultancy costs and the increased team year on year. So now the exciting, the rights issue, and I've presented before, and I just want to get everybody aligned, and very much look forward to tomorrow, in fact, which is August the 2nd, when the subscription period for the rights issue starts. And this runs until the 16th of August. And the rights 6 new shares at the quota value of 0.10 crowns. So each unit will therefore be 0.60. So in addition to the shares, we will.
Aaron, you freezed for a short moment.
Which will be in November, and then following on from that, beginning of next year, expected in February, 3 TO3 warrants, and these will be included as part of the unit issue. So although they're included as in they're kind of issued as part of the unit issue, they obviously still need to be subscribed for, and the subscription price will be 70% of the average price of the company's share during for the TO2s. The first period will be from the 3rd of November to November 16th. And for the TO3s, February the 1st, 2024 to February 15th, 2024 for the TO3s. However, the price will be not less than the shares, than the quota value rounded up to 2 decimal places, and not more than 0.15 per share. And I would just like to reiterate that I think this is a really fantastic opportunity to join us on our journey and our next exciting step. As was outlined in the CEO comments, we are very close to a commercial breakthrough in the US, and we believe that joining now when the price is so low will be opportunity for interested in making money, but also for those who are interested in supporting a company that really makes a difference to both patients who are diagnosed with cancer and also caregivers who are providing the care. So all I think that this opportunity is a great opportunity to be a part of. And with that, I think we can open up to some questions from Klaus. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Anna, and thanks a lot, Aaron, for your short introduction and presentation. I have a couple of questions before we get back to the rights issue. So Aaron, you mentioned the cost side, so no reason to ask more about that. I don't see any questions coming in on that issue. But when do you expect your revenue to grow? And could you elaborate a little about what region do you expect to grow first? Is it Europe or is it US?
Yeah, well, that's a very good question. I'm sure that's on the mind of a lot of shareholders, both current and possible future shareholders too. In the US, we've led with the FlexiPulse needle, where we are using it for difficult biopsies, such as in the lymph node. And this is a needle which is available today and is available for customers today. In Europe, we have, obviously we have 3 needles, and we have the core pulse and the vacuum pulse. And the needles in Europe which are being fine-tuned are those 2 needles. So when it comes to seeing a development in revenue, it's very much expected that this will be led by the US efforts. With regards to timing, it's always a bit of a double-edged sword, because it's important to note that we're working very hard behind the scenes in order to recognize and to get our first orders as soon as possible. But it shouldn't be us doing, excuse me, of doing it the wrong way. So we're very careful to do it correctly. We're dealing with university hospitals, clinics. They have their own processes, which means that it takes time. However, with that being said, I would expect that in the second half of the year, we'll see some development on the sales side. We are now into August, so very much into the second half of the year. So I think that people can be on the lookout for some exciting news in the next couple of months. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Aaron, for your answer to those questions. And you mentioned this fine-tuning, and you mentioned that in the report as well. So of course, it's not a static world. You will continuously improve your products. Could you elaborate a little on the feedback you get from potential clients and the hospital and clinics you work with? And with that said, what is fine-tuning in that sense? It's probably more for Anna, but if you could answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, Anna, would you like to? I think you're on mute, Anna.
I would like to say thank you. That fine-tuning is a process that you normally do for medical devices together with the customer. The customer is using the product. They see small improvements that you would like to get settled before they really incorporate it into their arsenal or their, as I say, products to use in the hospital. And NeoDynamics is not different to all other products that have gone through, so to say, the evaluations in the hospitals. And this is also now happening for us. I would say that it is in Europe that you can do this. In the US, you have a lot of legal control in another way, and there can be big consequences if you don't have your product, so say in an advanced and ready stage, which we now have with the FlexiPulse needle and soon with the VacuPulse. But the FlexiPulse needle, as you remember, is part of our clinical program. So we have used that product since 2017, and we see that it is a strong one. So with the documentation there, we don't need any, so to say, fine-tuning at all. It is with the two other needles, which are more applicable for Europe than for US in today. Have I answered your question, Klaus?
Thanks a lot, Anna. Yeah, you did. That's really good information. You mentioned that in the report, and that's why I'm asking as well. So the investors, you know, they know what to look for in the future.
Yeah.
And just to give us a briefly update on the Pulse study, you finished that one. You got good feedback from the congresses where you. We
have taken so to say the possibility to present pieces of this study, and now we have the final, so to say, conclusion of the study where we have all the patients included, and we can then so to say message that we have a product that is reliable to take samples in the lesions in the armpit, you know, where you have a lot of blood vessels and nerves. 93% success rate may not sound so big, but remember that here we talk about surgical procedure as well. So if you have, with a less invasive needle procedure, a possibility to reach a 93% success rate, this is really interesting, and especially so in the US. So we had the final data presented now in both the sonography breast meeting in the US, in Washington, D.C., as well as now in the German Congress. And we are very pleased to see the interest that is still there. And we are now ready to have the publication going out. And I would expect that this is available then by end of the year. And that will be published then in a peer-reviewed journal, which is very important for hospitals that we use that.
Yeah, it's probably a stupid question, but this is also, as I understand it, really a big door opener into the US market. Isn't that true?
Yeah, correct. So you have the support there, and you have the support of the university centers, which leads us into, so to say, the that we are commercializing now the product. And with these big university centers, you need to take them step by step. So in April and May, as Aaron mentioned, from the Q2 report, we have met the doctors, we have presented, we have demonstrated, and now we are meeting them. Names like UPenn, UC Davis, Memorial Sloan Kettering, very, very outstanding, so to say, cancer centers. Every doctor knows about it. And we are there to now present and also to get them to test and evaluate. And they are very keen to get going. So I can say that.
Good, Anna. And just to finish about your current studies, because you have several. You have the Compulse study you carry out in UK. Could you elaborate a little on the timeline and what we should expect from that?
I would say that now we have adjusted inclusion criteria in the way that we are including, so to say, all patients that are possibly, so to say, taking advantage of the FlexiPulse. And we have an inclusion rate that has really increased. So now we have 1/4 of all patients included during just a few months. So we are positively, so to say, happy with that. And that means a study like this, that is a comparative study, you need a much larger patient group. So we will have around over 400 patients included, 200 in each arm. The so say Neonavia FlexiPulse in one arm, and then to be compared to a classic core needle. And this study, I would say that an interim presentation will be available by end of the year. However, the entire study, by earliest, I think abstracts, etc., will be presented end of 2024. Now, we are not crying for that, because it is actually a very important factor that you have a clinical study ongoing when you meet doctors. They understand our commitment. They understand also that we believe in the product because you expose yourself. And they are very happy to read about it when we present, is to say, subgroups of patients and discuss with the doctors. So the compound study will be very important by end of 2024 regarding results. However, already now, as is also mentioned in our Q2 report, we have a commitment from these centers that participate in the study that they will also use the product commercially. And that is a very strong commitment from these hospitals, I believe. So I'm happy to report that as well. Thanks a lot, Anna, for updating us.
Quick question about your strategy. Do you see any changes to the strategy? We spoke about that. That's 9 months ago. Of course, things take time, but the strategy is still the same.
The strategy is still the same. We go to the top hospitals first, and then they are advising, so to say, their colleagues and peers to use Neonavia. We are doing the same in the US. However, there we decided before we set off that we will go with only one needle to start with and not the whole system. So I think that is the difference between US and Europe. Otherwise, the strategy remains, yes.
Good, thanks a lot. Well, then let's dive a little into the upcoming rights issue. And I know your advisor in this respect is Redeye. And I will, after this presentation, make a link in the comment I do for the landing page, so all investors are able to directly subscribe for shares if they are interested. But Aaron, could you dive a little into, first of all, the why? I think you more or less covered, but maybe a little more on the timeline and what to expect for the coming weeks.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the subscription period starts tomorrow, and that subscription period runs up until the 16th of August. I am just looking for all of the dates.
Yeah, I think you have this very good slide, if you have this nearby.
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, I'm just thinking on my feet here. We very much expect the rights issue to be completed within August. So I can also share that. Apologies here. My computer just decided to freeze.
Yeah, I know I can at least fill in that. I know that both management, the board of directors, and also the biggest shareholders more or less already signed up for shares in the issue. Isn't that right, Aaron?
Correct.
That's correct. Thank you very much for the prompt, Klaus. Exactly. So we have guaranteed commitments of 80% from both the largest shareholder, but also, and this is important, from the management and the executive team, and that shows that we are all committed to the issue and also to the company. And having the largest shareholder on board with us again, and they've been part of capital raises for many years now, really shows that they are committed to seeing through the story with us. So if I could just say that the Yeah, so the trading in the subscription period runs from 2nd to 16th. The trading in the BTUs, the unit rights, is from tomorrow until the 11th of August. And then on the 21st of August, we have the estimated date for the publication of the outcome of the rights issue. So those are the key dates that I would suggest everybody sort of look out for in the next couple of weeks.
And if you succeed to get the full amount, around the 72 million SEK, how far will that bring you? I know that the nature of your business is seeking for capital, of course. Mm-hmm. But how far will that bring you? And could you add a little on your capital structure in that respect, Aaron? I know you've been out with long-term financing for a while.
Yes, I think what I'd like to start with is that our largest shareholder and we also have a good relationship with a boutique finance company in Denmark called forbinder, have provided us loans in relation to the rights issue. Our largest shareholder's loan will sort of be converted into his pro rata share, but we will have loans going into the rights issue, which obviously will need to be repaid once the rights issue has been completed. So I think that the runway moving forwards will ultimately depend on how much we raise. If we assume we raise 72, we'll have the loans to be repaid, which will probably take us down maybe into the 30s. And then if we look at the sort of run rate that we have today, I think it's comfortable to say that will last us until the first warrants, which are in November. And then once the warrants are subscribed for, then we'll have obviously further runway into February next year. So if we look at the capital raise holistically, so not just from the rights issue, but from the 2 warrant programs, it's always from a planning point of view good to have 12 months worth of liquidity, and that's very much what we are aiming for here, is to have 12 months worth of working capital to most importantly to finalize the commercialization in the US, but at the same time to get the product back out to those centers in Europe that are eagerly waiting for them. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Aaron. If there's any questions from the audience, please post your questions and I will forward them to management. Doesn't really seems like that's the case right now, Aaron and Anna. I think we covered more or less everything, both the Q2 reports, the upcoming issue, and also what to look for. And as both Aaron and Anna mentioned, they're working really hard to get the first orders or first order in US, and that's of course a major trigger for the company. So hopefully we will hear something soon, and I know you will participate in our life science seminar in about a month's time, and within the next couple of days we will post a lot about the upcoming issue. And with that said, I will say thank you to Anna and Aaron for a thoroughly presentation, and I'm sorry there's not more questions from the audience in this time, but hopefully next time. So everybody enjoy your day, and thanks a lot, Anna and Aaron.
Thank you, Klaus.